How is everyone? It's time for another episode of Web3 Unchained. And today we have some superstar guests with us. Wave. Yeah, I'm so happy to have you guys here. We're still waiting for two or three more speakers, but maybe they will join us as we go. We already have three speakers with us, so I think we can go. We can start. How is everyone?
Woohoo!
Yay!
Doing good, doing good. Great to be here.
Awesome, awesome. We have two co-hosts today. It's Gamey Token, a gaming platform with 100 million users, and Mooncards Game, that is a kind sponsor of today's rewards for participation and engagement. So watch out for a question I'll be asking, and if you comment, some of you will be picked for a reward from Mooncards. My name is Bozena. I'm your host today, and the topic of today is business models that don't flop. So it's a tough one, but also super interesting. So I'm very curious about different takes our speakers will bring to the table. We're not here to glorify unicorns or anything at all. We're here to discuss what actually works and why some business models are quietly winning while others are burning cash. So, discussion definitely welcomed, disagreement if there is one. We're not looking for an echo chamber. And before we start, kindly asking everybody to like, retweet, you know how the algorithms work. So, let's feed it a little bit. And now it's time for speakers to introduce themselves so we know who we have with us today. And after that, we will go right into the talk. So over to you. Who wants to go first?
GM.
Yay. Let's go.
GM. I'm Jan. I run marketing at Clio X. We are a blockchain product studio out of Prague. We work with teams actually like a gaming, One Fight Arena, Satoshi Labs, and also a bunch of DeFi projects. We built everything from games to trading bots. Now AI-powered tools are very in demand as well. So besides development, we also now started to offer community marketing for Web3 teams, which we see is a big part of success for Web3 projects. Yeah, I actually handle our socials, content, newsletter, webinars. I just make sure that our works get in front of the right people. And I'm excited to be here. And yeah, let's get into what actually works in crypto business models.
Amazing. Let's do it. We have three more. Let's go.
Hey, I'll jump in next. It's great to be here. My name is Josh. I'm the founder of Demons, which is an omni-chain game inspired by Tamagotchi and Pokemon, founded and centered in New Zealand with an international team of Web3 and gaming professionals. And we are the only omni-chain game that is taking your on-chain history and turning it into a custom pixel companion for PvP, PvE, and with AI integration with serious earnings potential at the same time. We're about to go live with our open beta, which will be in late May. That'll be live on a heap of different chains with our mainnet coming shortly afterwards, with TGE and airdrop planned in Q3 2025. And yeah, we've been lucky and I won't call it luck actually, but won some grants from some great chains, including H&H, and partnered with some incredible projects across Web3, like Persona, Nifty Island, and a heap of others. I'm really excited to be here to talk about this topic in particular. It's one that's near and dear to my heart as a maths and physics major and economics economics lover, enjoyer. I've always studied and wanted to learn more about that. And I see a heap of a few people from our community joining in this as well. Great to see you, Manboy, Joe, and a few others. So thanks for joining you guys, and looking forward to getting into this conversation.
Excellent. I'll go
Awesome.
next.
Let's go.
My name is Rich Robinson. I am based in Bali, Indonesia, the island of the gods, and I am entrepreneur in residence at Animoca Brands. And I have been in the startup space for over 30 years, and business models are very, 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 very important. It is, let's not forget, everybody, it is the ultimate sport to do entrepreneurship and startups, but the way that you can really, really win is through having the right business model, sometimes just tweaking the business model with the exact same sort of like, product and team and services and idea can make all the difference.
Great to have you. And we have one more speaker. Let's go.
Yeah, mic check, mic check. Can you guys hear me?
Perfect.
All
Oh,
right, thanks. For a minute, I was on stage, then I dropped down to listener, then I came back and I couldn't hear any speak, and I was wondering, X, are you testing my patience today? So I'm glad for the thumbs up that you guys can hear me clearly. Really briefly, my name is Mr. Console. I'm the community manager over at Bigger Arcade. Bigger Arcade has turned games into assets that you can own. Think about your childhood a little bit. When you went to a mall, when you saw an arcade machine, when you slotted a coin into the machine in order to play, we are very, very much themed on that exact business model, but with Web3 elements. Gamers use crypto to pay to play, and they compete over ownership of these games. That's Big Arcade in a nutshell. And just like other panelists here, I share the same enthusiasm to discuss about business models that do not flop. It's going to be a good one.
Love it. I love it. So I think we're ready to start. Thanks for the awesome intros. First of all, I have a question to audience. So that's an easy one. Since we're speaking business, what's the last thing you paid for online? Leave your comments below the spaces, and Mooncards Game will reward those of you who interact. So what's the last thing you paid for online? Leave that into comments. And now over to you, speakers. I want to kick off with a topic that I think is quite okay, interesting. So first mover advantage. Uber wasn't the first ride hailing app. Google wasn't the first search engine. So maybe sometimes being first doesn't matter, but being fast, distributed, timed does. Well, also McKinsey says that if you are first, you're twice more likely to become a market leader. So now my question is, are we overrating innovation and underrating distribution and timing? What do you think? And you can go as anytime you really want. I do not need to call names. Like if you want to put your hands up or just grab a mic and go, feel free. And I need to bring Rich back. Yeah, he's back. He's back. So over to you. Let's go.
by over to you, you meant over to me, Rich Robinson?
You can take it.
All right, awesome. Yeah, pioneers, when you're out pioneering a new country, a new land, pioneers often get the arrows. They're the first ones out there, and they're the ones that get beaten up the most. We often hear about first mover, but it's really about fast follower. The number one rule of any startup, it's really simple, but it's not easy, is make stuff people want. And oftentimes you can see that something is working, and then you can build upon that and make something that people really, really want by quickly copying other people. If you look at Evan Spiegel, he's the founder of Snapchat, and check out his LinkedIn profile, and it says VP of Product at Meta, because basically Insta and Facebook copy everything that he does, and good artists borrow, copy, and great artists steal. So everything is up for grabs, and you want to basically change your mind a lot based on what the user really wants, and it's a absolute gladiatorial battle to the death as an entrepreneur. So you have to have every possible unfair advantage And if that includes, copying and improving upon something else, then, go for it.
That's a pretty hot take. I like it. Anybody wants to react? What do you think?
That's a really good first question there. Really just setting the tone for the spaces. I love it. So I live in New Zealand, which is a country of fast followers by design, because we're such a small nation, having to having to follow or what it often makes more sense in our context to follow other nations that have a lot more capital, people, and things and resources to get things done, and we follow suit. But in terms of actual product design and gaming, I think there's a lot to be said for the two types of innovation, or the two major channels of innovation, being one, the big, I'm going to call it from a great book that I read on the topic, the P types, the big innovative moves that are game changing in the industry, versus the other type, which is the subtle changes that gradually lead to massive improvements over time. So taking something that has been done and making those subtle improvements that gradually lead to big changes. And I love Rich's comments, and I'll jump on top of those two, in terms of, what we're all trying to do here is to generate value, for the consumer, for the players, for whatever our audience is, whatever that looks like. So it to go back to your original question, I I think that there's definitely perhaps an over-indexing on the surface of people seeing the first movers as the real innovators, but I think that there's actual undercover truth of some of the bigger or some of the more innovative and more undercover and powerhouse players in the space, seeing ideas and seeing ways to truly game change off the back of those ideas. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Let me also jump in. I'm glad that the other speakers went before me, because the question was really, really hard hitting that I needed to reflect slightly. I'll somewhat say that I personally prefer the second mover play. And the reason why I think being an early second mover is advantageous, that is because A, unlike the first mover, you are already engaging on an idea that is taking shape. And that also aids you in mitigating some of the fast mover costs, that being education, as well as having to engage in deep, deep research. Fast movers really have to reflect these expenses in their prices, the expense of having to educate, the expense of having to research, which second movers don't really have to. And therefore, they can just come to market and completely undercut the fast movers. However, I do see the advantage of being the fast mover as well, because that fully captures attention. When you're talking about marketing, you want your product or service to be synonymous to a certain feeling. And when you're a fast mover, you really get to capture that wave fully. To speak about innovation as well, and to tie it a little bit closer to home as to what we do over at Bigger, I think that is the only thing we truly have left to make our products stand out. When we look at the current state of gaming, where new studios are not just competing with new studios, but already pre existing established franchises, you're not going to compete on having a bigger budget spend. You're not gonna compete on being more technologically advanced. You're really gonna compete on being innovative. And in gaming, just to give an example, we saw the success of Claire. Claire Obscure Expedition 3033 is doing really amazingly in a very niche genre, and that's because they were able to innovate. And I just think that's the way forward for game studios. If you're not innovating, you are really going to be swallowed up in this very fast
Yeah,
paced.
so tough in
Yeah.
gaming, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. I cannot agree more. Clivio, go. Your take. Are
Yeah,
we overrating innovation and underrating distribution and timing? What's your take?
yeah. I think I have to agree a lot with Mr. Console because, like, if we can look at some examples from past, we can look at NFT marketplaces, and you had the OpenSea, which had the first mover. It's kind of like the OG brand, who a lot of people likes go back to. It's their like love brand, go back to. But then you had Blur, who came second, learned from OpenSea, did kind of like a vampire attack with their points, and took advantage a lot of market from them. So there was a lot of advantage in that. And then you have also Magic Eden, who was first at only for Solana, but then it was start to adapt and took this adapting strategy, move to other chains, bring their wallet, doing some other stuff, listening to their community. And also now in the age of AI, when soon you will be able just to tell AI to copy some app and just give it different branding, your community and your brand will become what's more strong. And the distribution, as you said, that's what's becoming more and more important. That's what I think.
I have a follow-up question to you. So, do you think that a mediocre product can crush it if it has top-tier distribution?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, we have seen that happen many times, right?
Yeah.
So the product really sucks, marketing is amazing, and it's the winner. And then everybody with a great product is like, wait, what just happened? So
Yeah, it happens. It's not always easy. Marketing isn't magic wand, as some people like to think that. But yeah, we still saw these examples.
and we have AI Flow joining us. What is your take? I want to give you stage time as well.
Thank you very much to be me. Sorry for the data. I was in a meeting. Okay, I think we need to be in the between of them. So it's not just innovate or distribution. You need a network. You need capitals to scale. The first day when we set up a project and when we sit down with the investors in Web2, guys, where the first question is, can we scale? And that's where why capital is there. Okay, in Web3 is a little bit different because Web3 cannot scale at the level of Web2 yet. Okay, so it's not a big question generally, but without a proper distribution, even the best product ever will not be able to reach the audience. And without the capital, you cannot scale it. So if tomorrow morning I launch the best agent ever, so over Manus, over Cursor, okay, but I don't have enough shoulders to support, okay, the cost of the GPU, I will not be able to serve my customers. So it's not just innovation, it's that capitals and network need to follow like in a parallel way, preparing the field. And then if you're gonna need them, better for you. If you're not gonna need them, at least you did not fail in the most important part of the project. Because if I have the best product ever, but I cannot reach my audience, is a pity, guys. And I see a lot of stuff, a lot of projects coming out like this, not just open source, but even projects that have some capitals, but they don't have the vision of the scalability. They don't have the notion of the scalability yet. Okay, they fail in the best moment. So when there is the peak, not from the market, start to fall apart, service go down. There is no way to actually push the service more because in that moment the team don't have enough resources, okay, to pay for that. So I think we should always stay in the middle. I am more for the innovation as a developer, but as a company owner, I know that without my friends in distribution, without my network, without my investors, I will be never able to reach my goal 100%.
Great. So that was awesome takes on the first mover. Thank you so much. For everybody who has joined us recently, don't forget to like, retweet, you know how that works. And reminder to the audience, we have Mooncards Game who's sponsoring rewards. If you want to leave, comment, what's the last thing you paid for online in crypto? I forgot to say last time in crypto. Don't say Spotify subscription, say something in crypto. Then we will be checking for comments. And now moving on to another question or another block that I really want to hear from you about. Let's say we have great ideas, but they still fail. And many VCs, they say that over 90% of startups fail. And most often it's because there was no market need or maybe market fit. Many of them had hype, they had funding, firepower, but they still fell flat. So I would like to hear from you because we have entrepreneurs, we have community managers, we have marketers among the speakers. Why do you think this happens, even if there is a huge initial buzz? Why the business falls apart? What are the biggest traps from your point of view? You can speak from your experience. That's always the best.
I think I'm gonna take this first, guys, because I came late, so I'm gonna try to advance a little bit more. I truly think that first of all, the project that failed don't solve any problem. Period. So if I have bring something on the market on any specific thing, can be a game, it can be a new program, a new service. But if I don't solve any problem, even if I'm innovating because I use a new technique or whatever, then we'll never have this grip on the market that I should have. Instead, for for personal experience, also because I guide some teams now, when we solve one single problem, literally. So it should be the first thing you think when you prepare your project. Okay, what is the problem I want to solve? If you solve one single small problem to your user, oh, the user adoption scale super fast. So lot of product, service, or whatever come to the market, and maybe they are part of a majority of products that are basically all the same copy paste. There is also this, especially in Web3, but they don't solve any problem to the user. The user gonna come, is a new thing, you're gonna try it, you're gonna stay a bit, and then since you don't solve any problem, you're gonna find a new thing that come out 6 weeks after, abandon completely this one and go to the new one.
A quick follow-up question. Have you seen somebody solving a problem too early? The market was not there yet. I think that's one of the pains that we have seen across Web3 and crypto, right? We see a problem, but maybe a bit too early sometimes.
Well, I am in AI crypto, and we are behind 1 year from Web2. I saw very few projects in Web2 solving a problem and not having success. Very few. And the reason why they did not have success is exactly what I said before. They had a very good thing in the end, but they even not think to raise some money to actually support their scalability. They try, they fail. User take time to become your lover. He don't love you. He come to you and check to you and we don't know. I don't know. Okay, it's very easy to lose him. Is not loyal, absolutely, unless you solve a problem to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. Thanks for the take. Thanks for the take. Excited to hear from the others. Great ideas why they still fail. Even if they have everything, why businesses fail, why 90% of startups do not survive.
I'll jump in next. I want to be a devil's advocate to the last speaker, because I don't fully agree with the take there in terms of all products needing to solve a problem statement. I think that quite a lot of products can succeed if they're seizing a market opportunity, and that doesn't necessarily need to be a problem statement. And I think case in point for that is games, because inherently, for many games, for almost all games, in that fact, they're not solving a specific problem statement. They're just there, first and foremost, for my belief, for enjoyment and for fun and for escapism and for all of the reasons why we play games. And that's been a tried and tested model in Web2 for decades. People play games for enjoyment. I think Web3 has got it back to front in a lot of ways by focusing too much on play to earn, because that sort of distorts the reason why people play games, and it ultimately leads to failure for the vast majority of gaming products, which is why we're squarely focused on play to earn. But to go back to your original question, though, in terms of why so many products and why so many startups fail, I think it's got to be a combination of things, and that's got to do with strategy, conviction, planning, being at the right place at the right time, having a strong network, having a strong brand, and that's brand with your community, brand with your stakeholders, so that people already know you have a reputation before you enter a room, and all of those things coming together. And it's sort of a combination of getting all of those things right and a bit of divine timing at the same time as well, because you can have everything lined up perfectly, be fully resourced, and still not hit the market the way you want to. So yeah, and I think on that basis, for me as well, my background is heavy strategy and planning, so I'm big into that and making sure that you line everything up as best you can to optimize for success. So that's my take.
Great, thanks for a gaming take. I love that. So a gaming follow-up question for you. So there are a couple business models in gaming, right? Like free to play or pay for play or play and earn, and a couple of others. If you had to bet on one of them, which one would you choose? Which one's dearest to your heart?
Play to enjoy is I think the only way you succeed with gaming. But I'll have to say, I caveat that with that there are great mechanics in Web3 to enable people to earn too, as like an icing on the top of the cake. And that's certainly not something that we're that we're neglecting, because it's an epic thing that you can do seamlessly in Web3. It adds value to the product, but I think focusing on that is the downfall of many gaming products. And so I think yeah, play to enjoy first and foremost. Play to earn is the secondary piece there.
Well, thanks for the take. We have more speakers to hear from. So what do you think? Why great
Yeah,
ideas and great projects fail?
yeah, I'll jump in. I'll talk from our perspective of development studio, because founders come to us and we talk to them, and we often have to push back on their ideas. Sometimes, even though they think they are great ideas, they are not so great because they maybe haven't talked to potential customers yet, and so it's really important to like validate your stuff, not with ideally with your co-founder, but also with your potential users, to see if there's really a fit. Yeah, so that's from our point of view. And the other thing is strong partnerships. Like if you get your idea out, you need help to get it out. It's again the distribution problem. So even that, uh, uh, yeah, that's the thing. And sometimes what happens is your product gets a lot of hype, and you have this hype cycle where there's a huge hype that's on the top. Maybe you even launch a token, and it goes to the moon, but then it slows down, and maybe you need to tweak something, listen to your community, get feedback. Maybe you need to start generate revenue. Maybe you didn't have that, and make your project really great and adapt based on the feedback, and then you can bounce back and really grow. And that's usually how these great products can actually turn into something that can be long lasting.
So follow-up question for you. So do you think a bad idea, let's say a client comes to you with a bad idea, can that be saved by a brilliant team going and figuring out?
Yeah, depends. Depends how bad it is. If if it needs to be complete pivot, then it's up to the client. But yeah.
Right, right. Well, it depends if they're willing to pay for yeah for another brilliant team figuring out their idea, right? All right. We have Rich and we have Mr. Gonzalo. So who wants to go first?
I'll
Yeah,
jump in
I
here.
mean,
Yeah, no,
w-
Mr. Console, you go,
please,
my man.
Rich, please
No,
go
no,
ahead,
he,
buddy,
no,
go
you,
ahead.
no, you followed me last time, and that was actually really, that was a really good indication that it's better to be a follower because you have the most amazing voice. Come on, everybody. Does he have the best X Spaces voice that you've ever heard? I want everybody to put their hands together to applaud. I don't care if you're driving right now. I don't care if you're in a bathroom stall listening to this. He's got like the best
It's
voice
amazing.
on the
Yeah.
internet. And Mr. Console, by the way, Console with a K, because he's from Kenya. That's where that awesome accent is from. So anyway, I'm gonna follow you. I'm gonna follow you this time. You go first, my man.
Oh, thank you so much, Rich. And I will also tell the audience, if you've been to any of these spaces, have you ever met a man called Rich before? And you guys can tell he's rich in his spirit. So thank you so much for those kind words. I like the takes that have been shared by the other panelists: product market fit, a confluence of various factors, as well as providing to the market idea that is not really valid. In my opinion, when I reflect on what failure means, it almost equates to no longer being operational. And that to me means you ran out of money, right? You could essentially have a really bad idea, but be so good at selling it that you continuously continue raising funding from VCs, keeping your idea running, and therefore you're not a failure. So I would classify, to begin with, a business that has failed as a business that has closed shop. And this is not just in Web3, but in Web2 as well. Now, money. Money essentially comes from two sources. A, you're generating revenue. That means you're either selling your product or your service to people and they are buying, or you are raising capital, you're seeking funding. And I would say that this is predominantly the greatest cause of failure. You could have a bad idea. We all know of projects which have gone to market with a certain theme, but got invalidated and had to pivot. But if you don't have the money to offer you a few more months as runway, then truly that is going to lead you to close shop and therefore a failure. So for me, the really core reason as to why businesses fail is because they just don't generate money. And that means people are not buying their ideas or VCs are not being sold on their story.
I love that take. So I had a follow-up question for you, but you kind of answered it. I wanted to ask you if, well, some people say that monetization can come later, and others say it's critical, you have to think monetization first. So I wanted to ask you where you stand, but you kind of hinted that. Do you want to elaborate a bit, or you good?
Yeah, I mean, you could monetize a little later, but have a product that is essentially penetrating the market by being free or so. You still need to go to market, you still need to offer those metrics so that you can have a story to sell to the VCs. Because if you're not monetizing now, that means you are either bootstrapped or funded. And without metrics to help you gain funding, I don't really see how you can monetize later if you're not monetizing now, if I've answered that correctly.
100% agree. Awesome.
That's great. I'm going to jump in right now. Thanks very much. And don't forget to answer Bozena's question about what you paid for online. And be honest, OnlyFans, I'm sorry, OnlyFans of crypto should be answering this question. All right, that was a little risky, but the lady laughed. All right, good. So here's the thing. You want to be a little bit contrarian? 90% bullshit. I think it's 95% or 99% fail. It's even more. Like startups are a shit show. The most likely outcome is that you are going to fail. That is just statistically true. And it's going to really pretty much suck along the way. I've been in the startup game for over 30 years. And yeah, maybe 1 out of 20 make it. But what does that mean? They're limping along, broken, and just completely demoralized and destroyed. Maybe 1 out of those 20. So 20 times 20, 1 out of 400, they did kind of okay. And 1 out of those 20, so 20 times 400, 1 out of 8,000, that's a unicorn. That's like, elephant parade down the middle of the street. And everybody looks at that. But the fact of the matter is that startups are just absolutely ridiculously rough. I'll take it one step further, is that the most complex, the most difficult consumer application that there is a game. And I have been in the gaming industry. I started a gaming company in China in 2001, a mobile game company. And we were doing SMS games back in the day. And it was impossible to get funding for gaming. And for the most part, up until Web3, nobody invested in gaming. People bought gaming companies, people invested in them after they were already up and running, but it was so difficult to get anybody to invest in any kind of game. With so few VCs that actually did it, because it's even more risky. It's even more difficult. Why are the top 11 movies from 2024 all remakes? Marvel content universe, etc. Because Hollywood's afraid. Hollywood can't make new games. Why is music very repetitive? Why is GTA 6 coming out? Because it's really, really, really freaking tough. Doesn't mean you shouldn't try, but it's super challenging. And if you're going to build something, like I said before, it's Paul Graham from Y Combinator said, the simple but not easy rule is make something that people want. So you have to start with the people. You have to start with the users. You have to start with a problem that they're experiencing, or some sort of like amazing sort of like vitamin. It's got to be a pain pill or a vitamin pill, something that really, really excites them. And it's the only way you can really do it. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. That's why Hollywood is so conservative, music and gaming too. The only people that know are the actual players, the actual gamers, the actual users. So what you have to do is you actually have to create a minimum viable product, and you have to try with very limited resources to get it in front of them and get them to break it. And if they want to actually use it in the way that you didn't intend it, then that's the way forward. I'll tell you a quick story. In 2011, TechCrunch came to Beijing. I lived 20 years in Beijing, and I was the MC of TechCrunch Disrupt. And I went out for karaoke the night before with a guy named Kevin Systrom. He's the founder of Instagram. And it was before they got acquired by Facebook. And they were already pretty, starting to grow then. And I remember when Instagram first started, it was called Bourbon, BRBN. And it was a check-in app. Hey, I'm at this cafe. Look, I just checked in. And it wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't working. And he told me he was walking on the beach in Mexico. He took his first vacation in like 3 years, and he was talking to his fiance, now wife, and he's like, I don't know, I might shut this whole thing down. And then she was laughing at the phone. She goes, oh, look at this. This one guy, he's a professional photographer. He took a picture and then uploaded it to his computer, touched it up, and then uploaded it, back in his phone to Instagram, to Bourbon. And he's like, oh yeah, that's, there's a few professional photographers and I follow them all. She's like, why don't you make everybody a professional photographer? And he's like, honey, how can I do that? She's like, I don't know, do that software thing with your fingers and the keyboard. So he woke up in the middle of the night and he built filters and he uploaded it and it broke the app. And then, of course, then they turned it to Instagram because then they were like insta message through a photograph. And, the users told him where to go. He would have never figured that out had he not actually iterated his way to that success. And now people think, Instagram got bought for 1.2 billion and people thought that was ridiculous at the time. And now Instagram is probably worth $250 billion. And it's an amazing success story. So, you have to try to make stuff people want, but most of the time you won't. And what you're really doing on the journey is it's like a game. When you're revealing stuff, oh, there's a gold coin from the sky, there's a mushroom under this rock, and you find your way forward by listening and feeling out what your users are telling you. And usually that's how you can actually, for fun and profit, make the thing work. I'll stop there.
I love the story. Thanks very much for sharing it. I really love the angle of hands-on and being close in touch with customers and community and figuring out exactly what they need. So my follow-up question to you, Rich, is I think an easy one, but still I'm gonna go for it. Is there such a thing as too much money too early, too much funding too early that kind of disrupts
Oh,
this
absolutely.
hands-on approach?
Certainly. Yeah, it's like giving children, I think, too much freedom when they're younger, right? It's like it's not healthy. I think, when you're taking funding, you want to think about bottom up and top down. Top down is how much do I really need to be able to get to my next milestone? Because that funding is very expensive in the beginning. Like you're giving up equity for a cheaper rate, right? And bottom up is how much, how much will I need to be able to hire people to be able to typically 18 to 24 months, right? You probably need 6 months to 9 months to launch something, and then you're going to need to refine it another 3 to 6 months, and then you're going to have to go out and raise more money another 3 to 6 months. So you're going to need 18 to 24 months. So yeah, there's a scene in Silicon Valley, that HBO show, and he's like, what? Are you fucking telling me I could have raised less money? Because when you raise a big round, then you have a higher valuation. And then if you don't hit your milestones, which you mostly won't, then there's a lot of tears and you have to do a cram down round. And it's a mess. And I've been there myself many, many times on both sides of the table. So take just enough to be able, pack just enough in your backpack on the 100-kilometer hike to get you to the milestones. You don't want to pack 100 kilos in the back of your, 100-kilometer hike, right?
Love it. I love it. How come the time flies so fast? It's already time up for this episode. We planned 45 minutes and they went so fast. I don't really understand. So I would love to spend a lot more time with you. Hopefully, I get to see you on another episode. There is one in 2 weeks' time that's focused on gaming, the good, the bad, and the playable. So we'll be discussing specifically gaming, building games, gaming business models. I would love to see everybody there. And now, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. It went way too fast. We discussed first mover advantages, solving problems, dealing with wrong models, ideas or execution, what's more important, if brilliant teams can save bad ideas, and validating ideas and a beautiful Instagram story. I love that all. Thank you so much. Hopefully you enjoyed as well.
Give it up for the most badass lady boss in gaming, ladies and gentlemen. Come on.
I
Thank
love
you very
that.
much. You're an
Thank
incredible
you.
host.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you,
care and
everybody. Thank you,
see you
everybody.